All right. Thank you all for joining us for our Meet the Candidate Forum for the City Council candidates of the city of Lawrenceville. So we got all of the candidates that will be here tonight. That's going to be running in post 3 and post 4. So we got what they call in baseball a doubleheader. The first hour will be post 3 for with current city councilman Austin Thompson, and he'll be running against or Mr. Randy Travis, who's going to be his challenger for that post. And then in post 4, we will have incumbent and current councilwoman Marlene Taylor Crawford. We will have Brian Harris, who will be running against her for post 4 for the City Council of Lawrenceville. That'll be in the second hour from 8 p.m. To 9 p.m. So just some quick announcements before we jump into the forum. So we do have a upcoming town hall, power of the ballot, which will take place at the Norcross Cultural Arts Center. That will be on this coming Tuesday, October the 14th at 6 p.m. So please make sure you RSVP at bit.ly/power of the ballot. Again, bit.ly/power of the ballot to that event. It is a free event. We'll try to have some light food and snacks for you to eat while you're there. Got a great line of guest panelists that will be there to discuss all the reasons why we should be not only voting for this year's municipal elections, which is your city council and mayor elections, but public service commissioner, and why you should be getting fired up to vote next year for the upcoming governor's race, state house, state senate, judicial races, school board, all of those different races that will be taking effect starting next year, as well as, like I said, the ones I mentioned for this fall. Also, keep in mind our general meeting has been moved to this Thursday at 7 o'clock at the Gwinnett Justice and Administration Building, Conference Room A. That's due to our state convention. At that meeting, we'll provide some updates from the state convention. As the Gwinnett NACP was in the house, we did represent the Gwinnett branch there for the convention. Had a great time. We do have a new state president, and we will talk about that. Since our current state president, President Gerald Griggs, did not seek re-election. He stepped down from the role and then run for re-election. So we do have a new state president for the state of Georgia, and we're excited about her leadership and all of the hard work and things she's done, and we'll bring that as a new state president. And so we'll get more into that at our Thursday general meeting, which will take place this Thursday, October the 16th at 7 p.m. And that is open to the public. Like I said, we'll provide an update on the branch. Since it's been a while since we met, we'll also have some discussion and some debriefing from our Freedom Fund banquet, which took place last month. So just please definitely come out to that event, to that general meeting, ask your questions, be prepared to learn about some of the things that we're working on organizationally. And we look forward to seeing you there. Finally, we do have another Meet the Candidate Forum that's scheduled to take place on October and I'm making sure I don't mess up this date. So let me look at it before I give that date out. It's going to be taking place on October 21st. That will be with the city council candidates of Decula. So we will be right back here on Tuesday at 7:15 p.m. To go over the Decula City Council candidates. And then our final Meet the Candidates forum with the city of Grayson. We will have the candidates running for the city council for the city of Grayson on Sunday, October the 26th. And we'll be right back here for that. And that will be at 7 o'clock. So we have the 21st with the Decula City Council candidates at 7:15 p.m. Tuesday, October 21st. And then Sunday, October 26th, the Grayson City Council candidates running for the city of Grayson. Grayson hasn't had an election, I think, in about maybe a good 4 to 6 years, since a lot of the candidates for Grayson City Council have been running unopposed, so they haven't had an election. So please join us for that, especially if you live in the Grayson area, whether you're in the unincorporated or incorporated parts of the city. At this time, I'd like to go ahead and bring on our post 3 candidates for this first hour, Mr. Austin Thompson and Randy Travis. Can we bring them on? All right. Thank you all for joining us. And so, just everybody to level set how the forum will go. You'll have 2.5 minutes for introductions right now, and then you'll get 2.5 minutes for closing remarks. We'll give you about 2 minutes for questions as we ask questions throughout the forum tonight. And so, we will start with the current councilman, the incumbent, Mr. Austin Thompson. You'll have 2.5 minutes to briefly introduce yourself to the community for those who don't know you, or maybe
All
want
right.
to get to know you better.
All right. Good evening. Thank you so much. I'm really honored to be invited to this forum, this candidate forum with the NAACP, a well-respected organization. My name is Austin Thompson. I currently hold a position as city councilman for Post 3. I am the first African American male or male of African descent elected in the 200-year history of the city of Lawrenceville. And imagine 200 years for a man of African descent to serve in this distinguished position as city councilman. I am so honored to be a representative and a servant leader to our almost 35,000 residents in the city of Lawrenceville, a city to where I moved about 12 to 13 years ago because I saw a character in the city I wanted to align myself with. And I said, this is the place where I wanted to live. This is a place where I wanted to serve. And I served on the Architecture Review Board. I sat in some council meetings when I first got here, as well as the Downtown Development Authority meetings. And I also served on the Lawrenceville Neighborhood Alliance. I wanted to play a role and play a part. I didn't just want to live here. I wanted to play a role in the city and moving Lawrenceville forward. I wanted to connect with its leadership and connect with people. I've served on this council for 3.5 years. Well, I should say 3 years and 10 months since we were in October. And I have really enjoyed my time on council. I enjoyed serving our constituents and serving them, working for the interest of our citizens, serving their concerns, serving their needs, and making sure that they have a seat at the table of decision making. I also enjoyed serving with my fellow council members and the mayor. I think we've had a great time these past 4 years, almost 4 years, and I look forward to another 4 years serving on the city council. My 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 term in the my first term has been one of service. My second term will be one of greater service because there are more things that I wish to do. There are more things that I want to do, and this is from listening to the citizens in our city. So thank you for inviting me here tonight, and I look forward to a very wonderful discussion.
All right. Thank you, Councilman. You just barely was over time. And I will say, if you got any other devices that you may be listening to the forum off of, just mute those devices that way, because I am hearing a little bit of feedback on your sound now. But other than that, it's fine. Mr. Candidate Randy Travis for Post 3. I will start the clock now. You have 2.5 minutes, and I'll wait for you to say something before I start the clock to introduce yourself.
Thank you so much. Actually, I want to say thank you to the Gwinnett NAACP for hosting this event. I know it can be a lot of moving parts for something like this, and so I really appreciate y'all going the extra mile to bring us all on. I do hear a bit of an echo still, too. I don't know if anyone else can hear that, but maybe we can work on that as we go on tonight. Also, I want to compliment my opponent, Councilman Thompson, because he did say, and it's true, he is the first male of African descent to ever be elected to Lawrenceville City Council, and that is a congratulations to him. I know how hard it is to run for office, and so he has made history here in Lawrenceville. But I think, want to make sure that the city of Lawrenceville is congratulated for that, because his election 4 years ago proves that no one is automatically disqualified in the voters' minds based on the color of their skin. The city has evolved, and it's one of the many reasons why my wife and I chose to make Lawrenceville our home. So with that, let me tell you about my character. I grew up in Athens. My dad was a professor at UGA. Met my wife there when I went to the University of Georgia. We met at a church party off campus. We've been married now for 41 years. We have two daughters that we love dearly. Both of them are graduates from the Gwinnett County school system. My older daughter went to Georgia Gwinnett College, graduated from there, and is now teaching in the Gwinnett County school system. My other daughter is a successful small business owner. Some of you may know I used to be a reporter. I was a reporter on Fox 5 for 35 years. We lived in Macon and Greenville and Memphis while I paid my dues before we could move back here and move to Gwinnett County in 1990. I started working full time when I was 19 years old and did not stop. At 19, I was putting myself through college and did not stop working full time until last year when I retired. And now I'm trying to get back into public service. I think that journalism is a public service, and I think I can still serve the public. I can fight for the little guy, protect our tax dollars on city council, just like I did all those years when I was on Fox 5, when I was doing stories that protected our elderly residents from scam artists who call or email them, and protecting our children from, I don't know, going to school where there were, didn't have any fire alarms, they were broken, or they were being solicited with edibles. We did lots of stories about that. And we did so many stories about wasted tax dollars and politicians who were just in it to be politicians and not really to represent us. So I think that I can do the job. I think I can do a better job. And that's why I decided to run for office.
Thank y'all for that. Y'all barely going over the time, just a tad. I'm gonna let me slide this first go right. All right, so now we're gonna go to 2 minutes between questions, and we'll start with you, Councilman Thompson. Since this is a question that's specifically tied to, well, we'll start with you, Councilman Thompson. It's not necessarily tied to Lawrenceville, but it's a general question. So right now, you know, you've been on the council, like you said. I think this is your second term, correct? Third term. You muted. You can come off mute.
Okay, first term.
This is your, well, no, you're already on the council. This is not your second term that you're running for right now.
I'm running for my second term.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Okay.
Just make sure you're on the same page. So this is your second term. So what do you see as the top 3 challenges facing Lawrenceville moving forward? And, you know, as someone already serving on the council, what are you going to be doing? How would you prioritize that?
Well, in speaking with our residents and, you know, not just only going door to door, but in my monthly coffee meeting with residents, traffic volumes, that's one of the major concerns for our residents, the increased number of cars on the road, speeding through the streets. And of course, you know, we have a major thoroughfare through the city of Lawrenceville. We have Krogan, we have Pike Street, and of course, Clayton, Perry, and Culver, Jackson Street. And even for myself, being a pedestrian, that I know that's another concern for our residents. Overdevelopment. Our residents are concerned about overdevelopment, the number of developments we have going through, you know, occurring in the city. Taxes, that's another problem that our residents have cited. Now, in respect to taxes, when the millage rate came up for a vote, I voted no on the millage rate increase because I know our residents were very concerned about tax increases on residents when the county had already increased taxes for residents in the county due to property value increases. Our business owners were concerned about tax increases. I voted down the occupational tax. You know, paying attention to the concerns of our residents and our business owners, that's something that I do. On traffic and development, now we are growing as a city. When I first ran for council in 21 and even in 2019, our city was about 30,000 residents. We are now at almost 35,000 residents. So we are growing. So we're going to have development. We're going to have housing developments and apartments and businesses growing in the city. We just have to find ways to manage it. And we're doing that because I voted on infrastructure development for our city. I voted on infrastructure projects to widen the roads, add more sidewalks in our city. Right now, we're looking at other areas that we can develop. We have an annexation that's coming. Hopefully,
Councilman Thompson, we are over time. So
okay.
Hold you to it. I'm gonna have to get one.
It's
of
2
them
minutes
loud
already.
Oh yeah, it's 2
No,
minutes. All right. So, Mr. Travis, same question. I'm gonna throw it to you now. What do you see as the top 3 challenges facing Lawrenceville, and how would you prioritize addressing them?
Well, I've talked to 2,500 homes. If I can get that echo again, by the way, 2,500 homes my wife and I visited this summer, and we've talked to so many people about so many issues, and they were just grateful to see me. Some people said that they've lived here 30 years. This is the first time they ever met someone running for office, which is just crazy to me that no one's been there to talk to them yet. The number one issue, it's number 1, 2, and 3, are taxes. Taxes and the utility fees. Taxes went up again this year. Went up for me and for our house. Utility fees for anybody who lives in the city of Lawrenceville. And that's one of the reasons I ran for office, because, Councilman Thompson voted no, and he's telling people he voted no, but he isn't telling anybody what his instead was. The easiest word in the English language is no. That's why our kids say it all the way until they're teenagers. No, 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 no. It's what the Republicans kept saying about Obamacare. No, 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 100 times. But they never offered an instead, because it's so easy to say no and then go back to your constituents and say, I said no, don't blame me for this. You got to offer an instead of raising taxes. How about we cut this? How about we raise money a different way? Instead. I never heard Councilman Thompson say any other thing except no. And we're talking like a couple $1 million of money that was supposed to be raised, that was raised by those tax increases, by those fee increases. So what was he proposing to do? What was he going to cut those $2 million from something? I'd love to hear that in this hour today from him. What specifically did he have in mind to cut, since he voted no? Or was he proposing to have a deficit budget like they have in Washington every year? I hope he wasn't proposing that. Again, it's easy to say no. The people I talk to, they want to know how we can stop raising taxes so much. And I've got a lot of ideas about that. I'll tell you about it as we go on. Nope, can't hear you.
I was saying you beat the time. Good job. And I'm muting my mic because I don't know if some kind of way the echo is coming from me or not. But thank you for beating the time, and thank you for that response. So I'm gonna move on with some Lawrenceville specific questions.
Do I get a chance to rebut that?
I'll give you 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Okay. I was looking for options. I sat with our CFO countless times to determine how we can look at other line items in the budget. Our general funds are so tight that it was really hard to move money around. But the one thing I know is that when the residents say they are already experiencing expenses and the quality of life that they're looking for, you have to listen to your residents, But I did look for options. We just had to look at what the residents' concerns were, and I wanted to make sure that I addressed those concerns with our residents.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that rebuttal. And we'll move on with the next set of questions. And Mr. Travis, you can stay right there because I'll pose this first question to you. And it's talking about the recent annexation and city expansion done by Lawrenceville. Just want to get you and the councilman thoughts on that expansion. So it says recently Lawrenceville City Council considered a resolution to expand the city limits by adding more than 5,700 parcels, potentially welcoming 19,000 new residents. Do you support this proposed annexation? Why not?
Yeah, I do support the annexation. By the way, we're supposed to come with ideas, and I've got lots of ideas for city council. And the fact that Councilman Thompson didn't present any ideas, I think means that he only voted no to curry votes, because if the no's had passed, then where would we have been? We would have had a deficit budget. So you got to come up with some ideas. And when and if and when I'm elected, I do plan to explain to the folks who will be voting on annexation. We don't get a chance to do that. It's only the people in the annexed areas, the proposed annexed areas. Explain to them why it's such great value to live in our city. The police response time will be reduced if they are annexed into the city. Gwinnett County Police do a great job. Our police do a better job. They'll get trash pickup at a more regular basis. They'll be part of a vibrant city. We got so much going for us right now here in Lawrenceville. A cool downtown area, people who want to move to the city, people who want to go out to eat here. I think it'll be hopefully a very easy sell for these folks, because they're not going to, their taxes won't go up. It'll just be a straight trade-off, and they'll get, I think, better services for their money.
All right, thank you for that, candidate Travis. Same question to you, since you was part of that decision, Councilman. So I'm gonna go to you next, and let me reread the question, Councilman Thompson. So as it says, recently, Lawrenceville City Council, which you're currently a part of, considered a resolution to expand the city limits by adding more than 5,700 parcels, potentially adding 19,000 new residents. Did you support that proposed annexation? Why not?
Before I preface my answer to that, I just want to continue to say, since my opponent is going to beat me on my decision, in a representative democracy, you have to support the people's concerns. And one of their concerns is that they did not want taxes raised in the city. Okay. All right. Now, for annexation, I support it. I believe that, the 1,900 residents that we're going to add to the city is going to add to the character of Lawrenceville. Of course, that's going to increase the number of police officers, and increase our sanitation service, increase public service, public works. There's going to be more oversight for stormwater drain coverage, more oversight for management of the city. But I think it's going to be great, because now we have an opportunity to add more character to the city. There's going to be more businesses proposed in our economic development plans, with our comprehensive plan, our 2045 comprehensive plan. This would be a great addition to the city. So I'm fully in support of the annexation. Of course, those 1,900 plots that are to be annexed will have to vote on it next year in 2026. So it's up to them to decide if they wish to be annexed into the city.
All right, thank you for that response, and thank you for keeping it under 2 minutes. And I'm gonna pause just briefly in the middle of the questions, just to remind people, because I didn't do it at the beginning. Early voting actually starts on this upcoming Tuesday, October the 14th, for all of the municipal and public service commissioner races. If it's a municipal race, which is your city council and mayor, I know they use a funny word like municipal, but that just means your local government, city council and mayor. Those elections you'll vote at, typically you'll vote at your city hall. As always, if you're unsure and the information is not on the respective city website, you can call down to your local city. I don't think they're going to be open on Monday, since it's an Indigenous Day. And so they may not be there Monday, but definitely follow up on Tuesday about where you go. The times are from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. for those city council races, and mayoral races. And typically it is at City Hall, from 9 a.m. to 5. Of course, there's 2 Saturdays, October 18th and October 25th, same times from 9 to 5. Of course, election day will be 7 to 7. Of course, for those of you who live inside of the city limits, you'll have to vote at 2 locations. You'll have to vote at City Hall for your city council and mayor, and then we do have public service commissioner races, public service commissioner elections this fall as well. That'll be at your regular early voting precinct. So whether there's Rose Jordan, the Beauty P. Baldwin building, wherever that may be, but we got it flashing across the screen. Go to www.mvp.sos.ga.gov. Again, www.mvp.sos.ga.gov. Check your status, make sure you still actively register, and check where, pull up your voter precinct card and check where your early voting precinct is at. And if you're inside of the city limits, it should tell you whether you need to go to City Hall to vote at your particular municipal election. That doesn't matter if you're in Loganville, Grayson, Lawrenceville, Snellville. Check and see where you need to go to vote, and you'll be voting at 2 locations. For those of you who live outside of the city limits, which is most of Gwinnett County, this is not a time to check out. We need you to go out and vote for Public Service Commissioner and have some input on that race. Vote down the ballot, fill out the entire ballot. Don't get caught up in the district numbers, because you get to elect all of the Public Service Commissioner, just like you get for those who live inside of Lawrenceville city limits, get to elect all of the people running on city council, no matter which post it is. So definitely do that for Public Service Commissioner. And then organizationally, we like you to support eSPLOS. Again, eSPLOS pays for the upkeep of the schools. So we definitely want you to say yes to eSPLOS on the ballot, because those sales tax dollars is not property tax. It is a penny on every dollar you spend in terms of sales tax, like how most SPLOS funds are done in Gwinnett. And that helps keep the upkeep of the schools, helps the schools buy more land to build more schools. As we know, schools are becoming overcrowded. And we definitely need the funding to definitely buy more land, for the schools to buy more land to get more schools to help deal with some of this overcrowding of some of these classroom sizes. So switching back to the questions, adding to that, and you can stay on, Councilman Thompson, what conditions or safeguards would you impose on this such annexation, as far as infrastructure burden, tax sharing, service extension? Or what conditions or safeguard have you already, proposed as part of this annexation of adding these additional areas into the municipality, into the city of Lawrenceville?
All right, is that posed to me?
That's to you. Yep.
Okay. So we've discussed public service. We've discussed code enforcement. We've discussed the increase in police officers for the city of Lawrenceville. We've discussed the transportation expansion, because we need to expand transportation service. We've discussed the stormwater drain maintenance in the city. So these are all expenses that are going to increase in the city, because it's services that the city is providing. So we are already looking at, from a budgetary standpoint, the costs that will take to really manage 1,900 more residents. So the plan is to basically ensure that we have the coverage, to understand what coverage is needed, right? And then to determine the number of people we need to hire, the number of resources that we need to supply and make available, the expenses that we will incur for those 1,900 new residents. In order to maintain, stormwater drain infrastructure, so on and so forth, transportation, right? Working with Gwinnett County to ensure that micro transit is running through those cities and taking care of the residents. So a lot of these discussions have already taken place, but of course we have more discussions to go. And again, this is the breadth of the discussions will really take place once if the residents vote yes for annexation, and then we'll really have to execute and move those plans forward to develop it.
All right, thank you for beating that time. And I'll propose the same question to you, candidate Travis. So what conditions of safeguard, if you was already serving in that role, or would you, if elected, serving that role, would you impose on such annexation, since you were said you agreed to support it?
So I've got a lot of ideas on this whole process. First of all, I think Councilman Thompson misspoke. It's not 1,900, it's 19,000 people that we're adding to the city if the annexation goes through. And my suggestion is that we change how we elect our city council members. Right now, we elect everybody at large, and they can live wherever they want in the city. When and if we can add these 19,000 people, and we're up to more than 50,000, I think we should at least look at the possibility of dividing up the city in 4 quadrants. Everyone still gets elected at large, so everybody in the city gets to pick all 4 council members and, of course, the mayor. But each of those 4 council members must live in a section of this city, this new big city that we are creating here. And that, I think, would give those people in the annexed areas maybe some more comfort that they will be represented. They'll be represented anyway, obviously. just like everyone is being represented now. But at least they'll see a council member in their neighborhood, at the Walmart, down the street at the Quick Trip, or they'll see them in their neighborhood, in their area, and they'll feel like they really are represented. They can bend their ear if there's something that they don't like going on in their community. And so that's something we can work with the General Assembly, our legislative delegation, to try to get that changed. I think that's the best way to convince those folks that they really will be represented when they join our great city.
Thank you. You're keeping it under time. I appreciate that. All right. And then the final question from the annexation, and candidate Travis, you can stay on. How will you ensure the city can sustainably provide services to these newly annexed areas?
I think the plan is already underway. Like Councilman Thompson said, there's been a lot of planning that's gone into this. Even way before they actually got the General Assembly to approve this. So I'm comfortable that we can handle this. I think it's a wash, the money that's coming in, the new money that's coming in, and the expenses that we have to pay to provide those services. Again, I'm actually in a better spot than the councilman is because he can't actively lobby for it. There'd be an ethical issue there. But I'm not on council yet, so I can say, and I hope these people do vote to join the city because it's a great experience. Nothing bad about Gwinnett County. We've lived in Gwinnett County for 35 years in the unincorporated areas and in the incorporated areas. They're great too. I just think we're a little bit greater, and hopefully they'll decide to join us next year.
How will you ensure the city can sustainably provide those services to the newly annexed area? And I know you can speak from the fact that you're already serving as the current councilman for the Post 3. So go right ahead.
Yeah, so the main important thing is listening to your residents. I remember when I first came on council, when I was campaigning, I had a lot of ideas too, right? But when you're working with 4 other members on the city council, you have to balance things through, right? Because I know you have a lot of ideas, and we all have ideas when we're campaigning for office, but ideas should be shared with our constituents because they are stakeholders in the city as well. So listening to the services that are needed are important to us as policymakers in the city. We already have our plan, right? But listening to our constituents, what current problems do you have? What current issues are you faced with? What do you want to see as you are incorporated into the city? How can we best serve you? These are just basic rudimentary questions that we as public servants should offer to the residents. Did I run out of time?
Nope, you still going.
Okay. Keep going. So this is why I have my coffee meeting on the 1st and 3rd of every month, 46 consecutive months, 92 Saturdays as of yesterday. And I've had them ever since I was sworn in, because as a public service individual, I have to listen to my constituents. I want them to be a part of this decision-making process. I can have ideas, yes, but I want to incorporate the ideas of my constituents. And this is why it's important to listen to our residents and to see what ideas and concerns they have. But yes, those ideas can be added to the plan that we already have.
Okay. I appreciate y'all doing good on this time tonight. All right. So moving on to the next phase of our questions. Y'all talked. We haven't touched on it too much tonight, but there's been a lot of talk about growth in Gwinnett County, and we know there's been a lot of growth and development in Lawrenceville. So, Councilman Thompson, you can stay on the floor. What role should the council play, or what role are you already playing in trying to guide that growth and development in Lawrenceville?
Okay, so our 2045 comprehensive plan, and that's the current plan. So every few years we gather a committee together and we discuss growth in Lawrenceville and how it adds to our economic development of the city. We considering growth. Gwinnett is now at 1 million residents, right? I think when the mayor was growing up, he said Gwinnett was only like 30,000 people, right? So you can just imagine. That's not too long ago. So, as we're growing as a county and growing as a city, we are the county seat of, we're the seat of the county, Gwinnett. We have so much to offer in terms of character, in terms of entertainment. We're building a new hotel, the Lawrence, which is a Hilton Tapestry brand. We have the Aurora Theater and the Lawrenceville Arts Center. We have our portfolio of restaurants, and we have an airport in our backyard, the Briscoe Airport, which lands so many thousands of flights every month. So we have people coming and going in our city, right? So we have to really take into consideration the folks who are coming to eat and play and enjoy Lawrenceville, and those who are currently living here. So we're building several developments now, and I know I just voted on executive housing in the North Lawrenceville corridor. Have some other developments that's being planned for. So we really have to take into consideration vehicles, traffic, additional people. That's more people that need places to eat in our city. So we really, as part of our economic development plan and developing a city that's vibrant, a city where people want to come and enjoy their time. There's so many of those ideas that we really have to consider. And part of my plan is to make sure that we are looking at a balanced plan so that everyone can enjoy Lawrenceville. Everyone can have a great experience in our city.
All right. Thank you for that. You barely cutting it close. All right. All right. So, candidate Travis, I'll repeat the question for you. What role should the city council play in guiding the growth and development of Lawrenceville? We know a lot of developers are in the ears of our council people, our county commissioner people, but we're going to particularly focus on the council tonight. What role do you feel like the city council should play in guiding the growth and development of a city?
A key role.
Lawrenceville.
A key role, absolutely. Hold on, get that echo going on again. I told you I talked to all these people, 2,500 homes, and yes, they're upset with taxes, and they're also concerned about growth, about the traffic on New Hope Road, the traffic on Paper Mill Road, and I get it. That traffic is terrible. Trying to turn left on some of those places, it's ridiculous. But you can't be against taxes, new taxes, and also against growth, because the only way we can stop raising taxes if we grow, is if we get more people to come in, buy property, and pay taxes on it, property that maybe is not generating taxes. So I'm all in favor of smart growth. And down where I live in the Depot District and Grizzly Parkway, built all the way out there to 316, it's infrastructure for growth. There's multiple lanes, there's roundabouts. You can grow along there without really affecting the traffic in other areas. But you got to be smart about it. You got to be smart. There was a project a couple of weeks ago that Mr. Thompson had a chance to vote on. It was a development over there off Paper Mill. It was going to be a bunch of townhouses, and the neighbors did not want the townhouses. And he says that he reflects the neighbors' beliefs, and that's why he votes no. But he didn't vote no in this case. He abstained, which is just, I don't understand that. It's as if he wasn't prepared for the meeting. This was a project that the land was zoned for apartments. So if the apartments had gone in and city council would not have had any control over those apartments, that would have been huge density. The townhomes were less density, still not what the people wanted, but it was less than the worst part it could be. And I asked the council the other day, why did you abstain? You didn't have a conflict of interest. Why did you abstain? I never got a straight answer from him. Maybe he'll give us one tonight, but I hope it wasn't because he was not sure which way the wind was blowing and wanted to make sure that he voted as a politician instead of as an elected leader, because that's the worst kind of elected leader.
All right. So Councilman Thompson, since he did Take a shot. You got 30 seconds to respond. Go ahead.
If I had a third arm, I'll put that one up too. You know,
Okay.
I'm not gonna sit here and be lambasted like that, because when you are in a position to make decisions, sometimes you have to make the decisions at that moment. I had countless conversations with residents in the paper mill community. I met with them personally in the paper mill community. I had phone calls, I had text messages. And I mean, I'm talking about up to 5 minutes before that council meeting started. It's not that I didn't know what was going on. I'm not going to be insulted like that. Okay. Now, the 59 townhomes are going to be built in that community. There's no traffic light. Okay. And I want the listeners to really understand this. There's no traffic light in that area. There's only a stop sign. So when you're coming down Paper Mill to Spring Lake, you have a long line of vehicles. I have been in it, both as a rider of Gwinnett County Microtransit and as a driver. I've been in it. It has taken me an inordinate long time to make a left turn onto that road. Okay. The residents were very concerned that, you know, without traffic lights, without proper traffic signaling, that the 59 townhomes is going to add more vehicles to what's already a long wait at that intersection. I abstained, yes, because there was a last minute provision that came in after all those discussions I had with the residents. I knew I was not going to vote on it because the residents, 100% of the residents in that area said no to the development. Now, I understand there is support for voting yes on everything on the city council. As an elected public servant, you have to listen to your residents. I am not there to rubber stamp votes. I am not there to curry favor to the system. I am a public servant. I am elected by the voters to serve them. So if they tell me they do not want those developments in the area because it's now going to add to the bottleneck at that intersection, I have to listen to them. The only reason why I abstained, I never got a chance at the last minute to go back and have those conversations on the provision about the apartments. You know,
Right,
so
Councilman.
you know, it's easier.
What?
It's easy to make comments and statements.
That makes no sense.
That's part of the process.
That makes no sense.
When you're part of the process, you understand what's going on.
All right, so I'm gonna ask the back room to mute both candidates' mic at this time. So we're gonna take a debrief. If everybody take a deep breath, I appreciate the response, Councilman Thompson. We're gonna try to move on. Before we do, I will ask any of our guests that are watching on Facebook or YouTube, because I see the numbers are climbing. Please make sure you drop any of your questions in the chat at this time. We're going to ask a couple of more of our questions from our branch that we created specifically for both post forum, and but we will try to make some room for some guest questions as we're about 15 minutes out from getting ready to wrap up post three's candidate forum. So if you do got questions, please put them in the chat now, and we'll try to get to them as quickly as possible. Probably have to, due to the sake of time, cut the time short for those constituent questions, but we will try to definitely make space for them to be answered. So at this time, I'll restart the clock back at 2 minutes, and then we'll move on to property tax and up millage rate and budgeting. So the city, and Councilman Thompson, you can take this one since you're currently serving in post threes as the city council. The city has kept its current millage rate steady at 3.26 mills for 2025. And even though that represents an increase above the rollback rate, do you think the maintenance of this millage is fair given the rising cost and inflation?
I think it is fair at this time, right? Looking at the way that we have to raise revenue for the city in order to pay for services, in order to pay for resources, we're always looking for ways to, upgrade our police department, our police resources. Even though I voted against the millage rate increase, I only voted against it because I know my residents said they did not want tax increase in our city. Okay. But I also do understand that the revenue needs to be raised in order to pay and cover the costs of those resources, and maybe another year down the line, 2 years down the line, we'll be looking at raising the millage rate again, especially if this annexation go through, right? So it's a balance that we have to walk a balanced path as policy makers in the city. We have to look at everything in its total. We have to look at what's presented to us, what's going to impact the city, and the voices of the city. So we really have to take all that into consideration, So 3.26 mils, yes, we're going with that. That is going to give us the revenue that we need in order to cover those millions of dollars that we are paying for police resources. I think is like $1.7 million to cover those expenses. The occupational tax, of course, increases the revenues for other resources that need to be paid for. So we're going with that now. Our residents understand that. They don't all agree, but this is what we have to deal with as decision makers. And maybe a year or 2 years down the road, again, that will be presented, because if we're adding those 19,000, and excuse me, I had the comma in the wrong place. Sometimes when you're dealing with a whole lot of numbers, you get kind of crazy. But yeah, you're adding those 19,000 residents. Hey, that's going to be more people we have to take care of. So we'll have to.
All right, thank you, Councilman Thompson. Sorry I had to mute your mic, but you over time. So, candidate Travis, same question to you. The city has kept the millage rate at a steady 3.26 mils for 2025, even though that represents an increase above the rollback rate. Yeah. Do you think that maintenance of this millage is fair given the rising costs and inflation?
I mean, yeah, we're really stuck here because, we're the county seat. So that means we have a lot of government buildings in Lawrenceville. And that means that only 60% of the property in Lawrenceville can be taxed. The other 40% is government buildings and churches and nonprofits. That's all, they all do great stuff, but we can't tax them. So the pressure is on those of us who own homes and those who own businesses to make it all up. And so we got to have new ideas. We got to shake up the status quo on city council where, someone votes no because obviously the people I don't want taxes. Hey, I would, if I'm Councilman Thompson's constituent, I vote no on taxes too, but I'm a realist. I have responsibility, and he should have responsibility too, to explain to everybody why the taxes had to go up or come in with some new ideas. I'm not calling for rubber stamping things. No one wants everybody to sit around singing Kumbaya at city council meetings and all voting 5-0 every time. I just want them to come in with new ideas, not just say no, don't offer any insteads, and then go back and tell everybody that you represented them. All you did was say no. You didn't really do any of the hard work. You just did the easy work. And I'm here to do the hard work. I'm retired now. I like I said, I've worked full time for 19 years old until last year. I'm ready to go back into public service and try to figure some things out and not just stick with the status quo that we've had the last 4 years.
All right. Thank you for being graceful with the time. Sticking along those same lines with the question about the millage rate. And you can stay there, candidate Travis. If more revenue is needed, what services would you propose cutting and how would you raise those funds?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that. I was looking at I wrote it down here. So, I think we have like $18 million in reserves, but because we have that much money in reserves, our credit rating is really, really good. So what would we cut? That was the question I asked Councilman Thompson. What would he cut if we didn't raise that money? I was on the Citizens Review, that's not the name of it, the Budget Review Committee that citizens are appointed to review. And it was fascinating. The people came in and gave their presentations, drove around, saw what the new development was going on around here. And I looked at the budget. Now, listen, I'm not on council yet. I've not sat in any of the big meetings that they have that go on and on for months and months. But it didn't look like there was much in the budget that could be cut. It looked like a pretty lean budget. So it would be painful if we had to cut things. I would work really, really hard to figure out some other forms of revenue. And, you know, I've got some questions. I just don't know yet if they're the right ones, but there are some ideas I'd like to come up with to try to figure out how to get more money into the city, and also convince developers that we've got a working council that supports them, as long as they're going to do what we want them to do and build where we want them to build, that we'll back them up. And I just worry now that what we have on council are people, my opponent especially, that, you know, maybe give a developer pause, and then we miss out on that tax money that we get if they would come in and build those, you know, those nice neighborhoods that we all want to have in our city.
All right. Thank you for respecting the time. And same question to you, Councilman Thompson. You currently own the council. If more revenue is needed, you know, what services do you feel like would you support the council cutting, or how would you raise the funds if you don't support any additional cuts? Because we know, you know, and I think we may have you on mute, so I'm gonna ask that you come out mute. We know right now that a lot of cities going to have to make some tough decisions. And this was one of the questions I asked in the previous forum with Snellville City Council, when we had our candidate forum with the Snellville candidates. And it was a question we also asked in the one with Swanee. So what cuts would you propose, given that, you know, federal dollars are going to get tight? The state is talking about, you know, a lot of money is coming down from the state. So how would you propose either raising revenue, or maybe seeing, hey, we may not necessarily need, we got it's a little bit bloated, we may need to cut back, you know? So I'll let you answer the question, and I'll time you when you start.
All right. So first of all, I am not part of the status quo. I am a disruptor to the status quo. Okay. And my opponent has never had a conversation with me about anything specific to the council. Now, I've stated previously, I have sat countless times with our CFO, Keith Lee, to determine, okay, what options can we come up with? My opponent just said, yes, the budget is tight. And it's really difficult to sit down at that moment to really look and see, okay, how do we raise money? Now, I know there are grants that the city can apply for, right? Some SPLOST dollars and other options that the city can look at. Our city manager, Chuck Warmington, very involved in these discussions and finding ways in which we as a city can raise money. Now, we have those discussions, and we're going to continue having those discussions, you know, because if we are welcoming in 19,000 residents, yes, it's going to take additional revenue and additional funding in order to have those resources available, right, as the county seat. So we are definitely having those discussions. It's going to take not just raising taxes, right? It could be a combination of taxes. It could be a combination of grants and SPLOST dollars and so on and so forth, right? But yeah, the budget is very tight, you know, and these are the discussions I have with my CFO. I have the experience. I've had the experience over the last 4 years with these discussions. So it's not like I'm voting no or voting yes. And to let the record show, I have voted with the council overwhelmingly, right? And, you know, just a few things that I have not voted on the council with. And that's basically because the citizens of our city said they are not in favor of these things. But yes, we will have those discussions on looking at grants and looking at other ways in order to fund the city's budget.
All right. Thank you for making time. All right. So as we come to a close, I'm going to check the chat real quick. I do see a couple of questions in the chat. And given the fact that we're up against the second hour, I only got time for two. So I'm trying to pick one that doesn't sound like. So I think there's a question about infrastructure. I think that kind of may have been answered earlier today. So I'm going to go to the second question that this person asked. And Councilman Thompson, you can stay there. So what initiatives would you support to expand, to engage young residents in city life, whether through recreation, internships, advisory board? And I'm going to give you 60 seconds.
We have committees that we have in our city. And I am building task forces going forward for my next 4 years. In my vision plan, I outlined that on a high level. I would like to incorporate more young people into the city. The plan is to look at what opportunities we have with current committees and where we can incorporate these young people, because we need their ideas. We need their energy, right? We need their vision and concerns. But also my task forces that I'm creating going forward will bring our city together. You know, instead of operating in silos, I want to bring people together, our younger people and our legacy residents.
Okay, thank you.
I know you said 60 seconds.
Yeah, you kept it short. I like it. I like it. Buzzer didn't even get a chance to go out. All right, candidate Travis, same question to you. This is from Coy. What initiatives would you support or expand to engage young residents in city life, whether that's through recreation, internships, or advisory boards?
You know, when Messi goes out in soccer to the field, he has a little kid next to him, shadowing him in soccer. That's what I want. Not a little kid. I want teenagers. I want high school kids to be involved in the political process, to see what's going on in city council. So I would set up I don't know if you call it an internship, at least a shadow program, where I would take one high school student every month, and they'd have to provide their transportation, but they could come to the city council meetings, watch and see what we do, and maybe other things that would happen as well. And then I would make sure that they're doing well too. And at the end of 4 years, that's almost 50 children, 50 kids, 50 teenagers, maybe they're adults by the time the 4 years are over, that we will have personally touched as city council members, or at least as far as I'm concerned as a city council member. And we would reach into Central Gwinnett and some of the other high schools around here. The only two requirements that I would put in place would be, one, they'd have to be a city resident, obviously. And the second, more important one, I think, is their parent or guardian, at least one, will have had to have voted at least one time the previous year, because you want to get people to vote as well.
Thank you. So we're kind of running out of time. See, Councilman Thompson got his hand up.
20 seconds.
We're at the
well, then I get 20 seconds after him.
We're at the closing stage of our forum now. And so what we'll do at this time is just leave some time for some closing remarks. So I'm going to reset the clock. Y'all been going over time a little bit, so I'm gonna give y'all 2 minutes and 15 seconds. I'm gonna take away 15 seconds and give y'all 2 minutes and 15 seconds to make any closing remarks. We'll start with you, candidate Randy Travis, to make your final closing remark, your final push for why you should be elected as to represent Post 3 for City Council. So I will start the clock when you start speaking.
Thanks again for hosting this. I know, like I said, it can be a complicated process, and I do appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, since I retired last year, I've been yelling at my TV every night, trying to figure out how I can get back and help the community. After I retired, I immediately signed up to be a poll worker. You're looking at the assistant manager for poll 141 in Sugar Hill. Active in my church in St. Vincent de Paul. We go into people's homes. We try to help them pay their bills and not get evicted. But I want to do more than that. And I think I have, as Liam Neeson liked to say in the movies, a particular set of skills that I can bring to city council. I investigated fraud and corruption for decades. I can spot it. I can protect our tax dollars. I can make sure that government functions. I've sat and watched city council meetings more in my career than probably Councilman Thompson has ever taken part in the last 35 years. And I've seen good ones and I've seen bad ones. I know what it takes to be a good representative, to not just parrot what people are telling you, but to be responsible, to do the responsible thing, and then explain to the constituents why you voted the way you did. Because if you're just going to say what people want you to say, then you're not participating and bringing ideas to the council. And hopefully in this last hour, if I've said anything, I've convinced you that I have ideas. I have so many ideas. I'm an outsider who's never run for office before, but has done a lot of good in our community in the last 35 years. You can see it on TV. You can see it on YouTube. The stories I've done have changed people's lives for the better. And I want to do the same thing now as a city councilman.
All right. Thank you for keeping the time. You barely made the cut, but I appreciate that. All right. And Councilman Thompson, closing remarks.
Okay, so I thank you for this opportunity to address our platform to the audience. Now, over the last 3.5 years, I have worked with my council and I've worked intimately with our residents. Coffee with Councilman Thompson, as I mentioned, was created because I wanted to have that added engagement with our community. A representative democracy is important to us as Americans and as residents of Lawrenceville, because we have to be participants in a democracy that works for us, not works for the system. So yes, I have ideas too, but my ideas incorporate the ideas of my constituents, to the people I speak with every day. My opponent says, yes, he has visited with 2,500 residents. Okay, I have visited with equal number of residents. And over the years, I have sat and had coffee, had tea, and spoken with residents. And together, we take ideas to the council. In my vision plan, I have outlined my platform for the next 4 years. And much of that now, it takes into consideration what our residents want to see. Many of our residents said, yes, they felt underserved, underrepresented, under the old status quo. I represent a disruption in that system because I listen to people and I incorporate their ideas that I take to the city council. I want my residents, I want everybody in Lawrenceville to know that Austin Thompson represents you and will vote with your concerns in mind. On November 4th, when you go to the poll, vote Austin Thompson for Lawrenceville City Council Post 3. The representation you ask for is the representation you will get. And you've seen me in the last 3.5 years. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that, Councilman Thompson. First of all, I want to thank both our guests, current City Councilman, Post 3, Councilman Austin Thompson, and we also want to thank candidate Randy Travis for coming on. Good luck to the both of you. Do want to just do a quick pause, and we can put them backstage now and just leave me in the room. Definitely want to do a quick pause and just say, hey, we all night we've tried to put up the different banners or how you can support these candidates. As I always like to say, and I'm gonna take the banner down since it's just me. As I always like to say, I know a lot of y'all donate to, Donald Trump's campaign, and when Kamala Harris ran her campaign, and even to Ossoff and Warnock campaign. And I'm not telling you not to do that, but your money will go a lot farther if you support your local candidates that are running for city council, that are running for state representative and state senator. So we try to do a better job of posting their website, not only so you can learn more about the different things that these candidates support, but also so you can donate. That $100, that $50, these candidates don't raise, 2.3 million and 4 or 5 million like what you're going to see for some of these gubernatorial or governor, these candidates running for governor next year in 2026, whether they're in the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. These local candidates don't raise that kind of money. So, giving your $50, giving your $100, it goes a lot farther to supporting, city council candidates, mayoral candidates. Even if you don't live in the city limits of Lawrenceville, but you live in the unincorporated parts of Lawrenceville. If you can't vote for them, at least donate to the candidate you would have voted for had you had an opportunity to be able to vote for them. So just want to keep that in mind. And at this time, I want to bring on our moderator for hour number 2 from Top Ladies of Distinction, Miss Erica Franklin. We can bring her in the room. Hello, Erica. You on mute.
Hello, how are you?
Good. So we're going to turn the program over to her at this time for the second hour to do the second leg with our post 4 candidates, which would be Ms. Marlene Taylor Crawford, who is the current councilwoman for the city of Lawrenceville, and also Mr. Brian Harris, who's the candidate running for post 4. So you can take me out and bring them in, and I'm going to turn it over to Ms.
Well, good evening, everyone. We will be having our forum this evening with the candidates for Councilwoman, Marlene Taylor Crawford, as well as Mr. Brian Harris. So I just want to start off by saying thanking each of you for joining us this evening.
And before we get started, I just want to remind the candidates I'll be the one taking the time. So when you see me come back in the room, that means you got about 30 seconds to get that question off. I mean, to get your answers off. So as we did before, you'll have 2.5 minutes for introductions and about 2 minutes between each question.
Mhm.
And so I'm gonna jump out, but when you see me come in, that means you probably got about 30 seconds before the buzzer's about to go off. So I'm gonna jump out and I'll let Miss Erica throw who she wants to go first in terms of the introductions, and I'm gonna hop out at this time.
All right, thank you, President Paul. What we want to do this evening is we want to give each of you an opportunity to introduce yourselves to our audience. I will start with Mr. Bryant Harris.
Good evening. I'm Bryant Harris. I was born and raised right here in Lawrenceville, Button Gwinnett. Raised in the community, Carver Circle, Crosstown. Graduated Central Gwinnett in 1997. Immediately went into the Marine Corps. Served 4 years in the Marine Corps. Came back, finished my degree in sociology. From there, I started working misdemeanor probation. The late Bill Dodd gave me my first job there, opportunities there. And then in 2005, I started working at the Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office. I stayed there approximately 5 years and left and went and worked uniformed Secret Service. I was actually stationed at the White House, but Lawrenceville is home, so I came back to the Sheriff's Office. And now my total time there is about 20 years. I promoted through the ranks, and now currently I'm the major over the criminal investigation section, where I manage the warrant unit, sex offender unit, family violence unit, and extraditions. I'm looking, and the reason I'm running is because my roots in this community run deep. I've lived in these streets, I've learned in our schools and worshiped in our churches. I actually grew up in Pleasant Hill, where I'm currently still a member there. And I just want the opportunity to serve the residents of Lawrenceville while prioritize everyday challenges, keeping the taxes and utility costs low as possible, supporting public-private partnerships to expand affordable housing opportunities, and a police force that is tough on crime, but yet fair and treat the residents of Lawrenceville with dignity and respect. So those are my main priorities, and that's why I'm running.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Harris. And now we'll turn it over to you, Miss Marlene.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Gwinnett NAACP, for hosting this, giving us an opportunity to speak, and of course for the public to hear what we have to say. So I'm a woman of faith, courage, compassion, and I do the hard work. This has been poured into me from I was a child. I'm first generation in this country. My father was from Cuba, my mother from Jamaica. They came to this country, became naturalized citizens, and it was poured into us to education was first, and of course, giving back to your community was second. So this is something that I have always seen all my life. I don't know anywhere any other thing to do but to serve. And that speaks not only as me being a councilwoman, but also as a school counselor. So I chose a career to serve, to help children in order to do preventive work so that they will not grow up and end up in the prison system or doing other things that can, be detrimental to them. I am a wife. My husband is a Navy veteran. I have 3 adult children, 3 bonus children. We are a blended family. I have 3 grandchildren, and 4 grandchildren and 3 bonus grandchildren. So I moved to Gwinnett County, specifically Lawrenceville, in 1999. I have been consistent in the work that I have done for over 23 years serving this community. And not just serving this community, but building the trust of the community and the respect of the community. And I think that's very essential to say that as well. I have served on numerous boards. I have led the effort to do many things in this community such as the Hooper Renwick School, being on the grassroots committee to preserve the school. I also work with the committee to take down the Confederate monument when I was a member of the Gwinnett Historical Restoration and Preservation Board, first African American to ever serve on that board. I fought for voting rights in Gwinnett County, making sure that we have Sunday voting. So things that needed to be done for so many years. Although I moved here in 1999, I got involved. I met Robbie and Ewan Susan Moore. They're no longer here with us. And they poured into me as past president of the United Ebony Society for 10 years. Became a member in 2001. I can go on and on and on. Service is who I am. So when I was asked to run for office, it was a natural transition for me.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that, Ms. Taylor Crawford. I really appreciate that. So we're going to get started now. First of all, we have, as you all can see, we have some wonderful candidates here. They both have really served in the Lawrenceville area. And we have a few questions that we would like to ask you. So first being, and this will go to Mr. Bryant, and it will be the same question for you, Ms. Taylor Crawford.
Okay.
What is your vision for the city of Lawrenceville over the next 4 to 8 years?
My vision, as we start to think about annexation and those things that are on the ballot and potentially expanding, to ensure that we are still maintaining a safe community. As I've gone out into the community and knocked on doors and talked to residents, as I've done this campaign, they're concerned about the rate at which we're growing and not having the infrastructure to be able to support this. But one of the things that I noticed is code enforcement. So many residents are concerned about the number of code enforcement and seeing that the residents in their communities that doesn't have a homeowners association aren't being heard, aren't being served by the code enforcement. So my vision is to make sure that the government, that Lawrenceville is being served and all residents in the community is being served by the proper services that they're supposed to be provided.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. And the same question goes to you, Ms. Taylor Crawford. What is your vision for the city of Lawrenceville over the next 4 to 8 years?
Okay. And thank you for your question. When I first came on the council, the main phone calls and community contact that I received was regarding code enforcement, slumlords, as I call it, not maintaining their property. So through my efforts, I was able to have passed a multifamily inspection ordinance. That did not exist before I came on council. But because of the limitations that we have, being on this level, it can only be for 4 units or more. And when I say this level, on the local level, some of this has to be, the state has to approve, and they're not going to approve anything less than 4 units. But my vision has to do with a few things. One thing is workforce housing, which is critical. So we have a hospital, we have a college, we have college students who are graduating from Georgia Gwinnett College who cannot afford to live in the city of Lawrenceville. We have workers at the hospital, not just the doctors, not just the surgeons and the nurses, which I respect highly, but I also respect the day-to-day people that are the backbone of the hospital. And they should be able, if they want to, live in the city of Lawrenceville. Our police officers, our teachers. I'm an educator, so I can speak firsthand. Most of our educators cannot afford to live in the city of Lawrenceville. So as we discuss executive housing and pushing that, let's also remember that we have a workforce here, and they should have an opportunity to live in the city of Lawrenceville. I think I would like to see more issues addressed regarding disparities that we see within our cities. That still needs to be addressed. That's one reason why I ran. we should have a standard when it comes to the way the city looks. There are areas in the city of Lawrenceville that I consider blight. Yes, blight. And that needs to be addressed. Not because that person who owns that property should get a certain type of treatment, no, and not address it. It should be a standard across the city. And also, I would.
All right, so we were over time. I'm asking our moderator control our candidates being over on time because
Yes,
it's a very tight
absolutely.
program. All right,
Absolutely.
I'm gonna hop out.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so I appreciate your answers for both of you. The next question is going to go to Ms. Taylor Crawford. What do you see as the top 3 challenges facing Lawrenceville, and how would you prioritize addressing them? I think she's muted. If we can unmute her.
Okay, yes, I'm unmuted now. So as I stated before, the lack of workforce housing, I think that is crucial. That's something that we need, and I explained that earlier, so I'm not going to go back into details with that. Also, we need more affordable housing. And when I propose that, I'm always getting no, we have enough. But let me explain what I mean. We have affordable housing, yes, we do, but not to the extent that we need to have affordable housing. I work in the school system. I used to work at Discovery High School. And I tell people, if you want to really know what's going on in a community, go into the schools. Speak to the teachers, speak to the counselors, speak to the administrators, speak to the bus driver, speak to people who have their finger on the pulse every single day to see what the needs are. Also, without a doubt, we need more programs for young people. And there is a difficulty with that because of the lack of transportation. So we can give students all the opportunities in the world to participate. But if they don't have access to get there, that is a problem. Growing up in New York City, that was never a problem for me. I was riding the bus at the age of 8. It's very different here in Lawrenceville and Gwinnett County on a whole because we don't have a viable transportation. So my top 3 would be, once again, workforce housing, affordable housing, and we need to have transportation so that our young people, students who I've served for over hundreds of students, that they can have access to all the opportunities we want to provide.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And Mr. Bryant, can you please have the same question, which is, what do you see as the top 3 challenges facing Lawrenceville, and how would you prioritize addressing them?
Again, the public safety, the rate at which we're growing, as well as the code enforcement to make sure we're maintaining our community. And the reason I think that those are priorities, but how I would address those is by investing in our youth. Because being in law enforcement, the number of young men and women that are committing crimes and getting addicted to drugs, especially with fentanyl and other narcotics that are out there, that's my concern. And so I would invest in our youth to make sure that they're engaged in constructive activities to prevent them from being involved in gangs, being out committing crime, or getting addicted to drugs. That's the reason I spent a lot of years, almost 20 years, coaching youth football, right? Because it's an opportunity to teach our youth a little about football, but also teach them about life lessons, teamwork, leadership, and give them that sense of belonging outside of things that would steer them down the wrong path.
All right. Well, both of you have some great answers and great ideas in both of those areas. So now, recently, Lawrenceville City Council considered a resolution to expand the city limits, okay, by adding more than 5,700 parcels, potentially welcoming 19,000 new residents of Lawrenceville, Georgia. Do you support this proposed annexation? Why or why not? And I would address this to Mr. Bryant.
I support it. It brings more tax dollars into the city, but I think that we need to make sure that we're doing it the proper way to ensure that the services that the residents of Lawrenceville have come to know and expect and love, we need to make sure as we expand, we're providing those same services. So as long as we're making smart growth, informed decisions to ensure those services, then absolutely, I support it.
Okay, same question to you, Ms. Taylor Crawford. Do
Yes.
you support this proposed annexation? Why or why not?
Yes, I certainly do, because I voted on that. So yes, and I voted yes. And the reason why, of course, more money will come into the city tax bases. However, we also have to think about some of the challenges that will come with that, and we have to be prepared to address that challenge, because we don't want any community to feel as though they're being disenfranchised, overlooked, underserved. And one way to do this is by changing, well, we would have to change the city charter in order to do this, and it has to go through the state as well. Like other big cities, they run by pulse, but in a specific area, such as Sandy Springs, Roswell, City of Atlanta, and not at large, because it's challenging now with being at large and having approximately almost 35,000 people. So to expand that, I do not want to be in a situation where I cannot serve to the best of my ability. So that means that if we are in different districts and we have a certain geographical area, that would help. And also being at large can also be a concern when it comes to voter suppression. Historically, that has been a concern. So I think in order to really address this, we have to look at some of the policy structures, city charter, in order to make sure we are doing our best. I don't want anyone to be underserved.
All right. Well, thank you so much for both of you speaking to those concerns. Now, a follow-up to this question is, what conditions or safeguards would you impose such annexation? For an example, infrastructure burden, tax sharing, and service extension.
Is that for me?
I'm sorry, that question will go to you. Yes.
Oh, okay. So, City of Lawrenceville, we have an excellent staff. And I would be remiss if I did not give a shout out to our staff members who know this work day in and day out. There's no way that I would even have a conversation about changing things without speaking to the staff, and that would go through the city manager, who is over all the employees and, of course, the heads of the different departments. So to really answer this question effectively, we would have to have more conversations about what that would look like, and some of the challenges with the police department, code enforcement, and other services that are vital to run a city. And what was the follow-up to that question?
The follow-up is also, what conditions or safeguards would you impose such annexation? And that example is the infrastructure burden, tax sharing, or service extension.
So going to the tax sharing, as far as the millage rate for the persons, if they vote on it, let me stress that this has to be voted on in May. It's not a done deal. So the people impacted in that area, they will make the decision. So their millage rate has been dropped 3 mils, so it's not going to be an extra tax burden for them. So I want to make sure that that's stated. Also, as far as the services are concerned, we've had conversations with the police department. Of course, there will have to be more hiring, obviously, in order to make sure that we do not have a deficiency. And I must stress, I do not want a deficiency, and I'm sure I can speak for the other council members, although we don't agree on everything. I think this we can agree on. We do not want a deficiency for any of the services. No one should have to be annexed into the city if they decide to do that and not have the same viable service that they had previously or they thought they would have.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman. And now, Mr. Bryant. Sorry,
Mr. I'm new I'm new to this, so I hesitate to say that I actually agree with Marlene, but I think it really starts by listening. We have to listen to the residents to make sure that there is not a gap in services. You bring the stakeholders together, the residents together, and to ensure that those services continue. So I don't think that's something that we will disagree on. I actually agree with what she said. But salaries, we got, as we know and understand the challenges to bring in law enforcement, to bring in other workers to this area, we got to make sure the salaries match to attract the best and brightest, and make sure they have proper training to continue those services that everyone's expecting. So I agree with Marlene.
Well, thank you both for that. And here's another follow-up to what we had stated before. How will you ensure the city can sustainably provide services, water, sewer, public safety, roads to newly annexed areas? This is for Mr. Harris.
Again, that question is very similar. I mean, you have to bring the stakeholders together, right? To ensure that we're doing things properly and have a plan in place prior to this going into effect. Again, this has to be voted on. And so as we wait to see whether or not it goes forward or moves forward, we bring those people together to start making those decisions to ensure that those services are in place when and if this happens. I think that's the best approach, is to first listen and get the experts involved to see what's the best course of action and make those decisions, informed decisions.
Okay, thank you. And Councilwoman Taylor Crawford?
Yes, thank you for your question. So I do want to stress we're not going to work in silos to do this work. It's not going to be effective if we do that. So of course, we still have to have a partnership with the county. We still have to have conversations with Gwinnett County to see what would work the best. So it's not going to be like, okay, you're annexed into the city, now that's it. We're not going to have conversations with other stakeholders, and absolutely we would need to do that. We will have to look at the data. That's really important. I'm looking at data. What has it looked like historically when it comes to the usage with the water usage, even though the water, just to stress, is owned by the county, not by the city. But we'll have those conversations, and everything has to be based on data. So we're going to have city engineer, the police officer, all the specialists, the directors, people who are in this space every single day to bring their best information to us to help us to make the best decision. We're not on the ground doing this work every single day. And the best analogy I can utilize, coming from the school system as well, is like having the school superintendent, and then you have the school board. Superintendent comes to the school board after he or she gets all that information and presents it. So I'm not going to speculate, but I know that I will make sure that we have all the experts at the table looking at the data and giving us the best information possible in order to make an informed decision, with the residents coming first.
Thank you both for that. Now we're going to go into the infrastructure and connectivity and transit. As Lawrenceville grows, infrastructure, roads, sidewalks, drainage will be under pressure. Which corridors or neighborhoods in Lawrenceville do you believe are the highest priority for infrastructure upgrades? This question goes to Mr. Bryant Harris.
I think we have a lot of aging and old residential developments. I was out on New Hope just this past week, and the amount of traffic, the amount of time it takes to pull out of a neighborhood and get onto New Hope is alarming. And so I think you have to do those traffic studies in those areas where residentials are trying to travel to and from work and live life. And so those areas with aging roads is where I would spend the time. And I think those should be priority based upon the need, not based upon influence of anyone else other than the residents and the need of the aging infrastructure.
Okay, thank you for that. Councilwoman Crawford?
Yes, so I do agree with Bryant. The road decided, but also Paper Mill Road. I had this conversation numerous times. And if you go to the intersection of Paper Mill and Spring Lake, it is extremely difficult. I have a resident who leaves her home. She works in Atlanta. She leaves her home at 5 a.m. going down Paper Mill towards Spring Lake, and she still has to wait. If she leaves like 10 minutes later, forget it. It is a nightmare. So that's one area, but that's not the only area on that side of town. If you go down, there's some areas going down Johnson Road, also on Stone Mountain Street, and of course, because of the infrastructure. But I would once again speak to the experts. In this case, it would be the city engineer, in order to talk about, okay, what does this look like? What are some areas that we need to address? But we cannot make that decision unless we have the data, because everything is database, to really make sure that we are doing our due diligence to address it in an equitable way. Because I don't want to just say one neighborhood and then there are residents in other neighborhoods are saying, what about us? We have some issues here. So we have to be able to justify the structure of the tier when it comes to addressing this. So once again, speaking to the city engineer, the experts, and then of course with the residents, because whatever is decided to do, I want to make sure that I can explain the rationale in an intelligent way so that people can understand the reason why one particular area is being addressed and another one has to wait maybe a few months or whatever, but definitely not years and years.
Thank you. My apologies, but I had to cut you off right there. So thank you so much for that. Now, a follow-up to that is, what is your stance on promoting multimodal transportation, walking, biking, transit within Lawrenceville? And that question goes to Mr. Harris.
Like I said, excuse me. Like I said earlier, I lived in DC for a brief period of time. And that was one of the things I enjoyed the most, being able to get on my bike and just roll down the street and catch a trail and ride for hours without having to worry about vehicles, traffic, or anything else. It was a huge stress relief for me. As I moved back to Lawrenceville in Georgia, I still enjoy mountain biking. However, there's just not the space. There's a concern. I know that we have the bicycle lanes, but I've worked a lot of accidents in Gwinnett County, and they concern me. That's not a dedicated path or trail, or at least not one that you can ride for extended periods of time. And so that's something that I would absolutely love and support, especially being that I enjoy mountain biking, but I like to do it safely. But I also know that as we grow, it seems like Lawrenceville is growing, and everyone seems to have a car, multiple cars, and our streets and roads are crowded. And I think it's something that we should consider is a different form of transit, and to ensure that we relieve some of the stress on our roads.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Harris. And Councilwoman Crawford, same question.
Yes. So my leadership style focuses on health and safety. So when we talk about building communities where people can walk, they can ride a bike, that has a lot to do with health, and not just health for the person, but in the environment as well. Mm-hmm. So it's very important in order for a city to thrive that people can walk in their communities. People can get to, see who their neighbors are by walking and just interacting. I think it's very healthy, not just physically, but emotionally, psychologically. So in other communities, like where I grew up, that was never an issue. Sidewalks, you can walk, you can, visit your local stores. So definitely. And I think people want that opportunity. Most people don't want to have to just jump in a car and drive every single where that they have to go. And it's safe for the community to in a healthy way in order to be able to walk in the community and not have all this all these toxins in the atmosphere from all the vehicles, and of course the traffic congestion. I can go on and on, but definitely having walkable communities. And we need to do it. We need to have more bike lanes, because we really don't in the city limits in the county. But that would be a partnership between the city and the county. And I get those phone calls very often, because people want to ride their bikes, but they want to be safe doing that. Certainly do not want anyone to risk their lives riding a bike.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for that. And both of you, again, have made some really great points. So should Lawrenceville seek more integration with Gwinnett County Transit Services or regional transportation plans? That question goes to you, Councilwoman Taylor.
Oh, absolutely, because we are all connected. And the region is working on a lot of things. However, it costs money. These things cannot happen unless it's paid for. And it was on the ballot, and that was voted down, because I think with having this conversation, voters want to know that something's in it for them as well. Not like, okay, well, this part of the county is getting all the benefits, but I'm paying for it, and I live on this side of the county, and I'm not getting any of the benefits. So we have to have a better conversation, a stronger conversation, and more buy-in when it comes to people understanding this is a benefit to all of us. When we think about the workers who are coming to Gwinnett County, coming to the city of Lawrenceville, many of them, they don't really necessarily have a vehicle that they can depend on to drive 30, 40 miles to come to work. You got to have something really reliable. And of course, the gas costs, the expense for gas when it comes to that as well. So in order to make the city thrive for all, you have to have viable transportation. Look at any major city. Transportation is at the cornerstone.
Great. Thank you so much for that, Councilwoman. And now, Mr. Harris, can you answer that question as well? Should Lawrenceville seek more integration with Gwinnett County Transit Services or regional transportation plans?
Yes, I think that's the only way that we're really going to make it happen, is if we seek the integration with the county and other areas to be able to get this finally passed. It's something that I know that's been proposed several times, at least two that I'm aware of, and I think is necessary, especially as we grow and become a larger city and we become more densely populated. I think that transit is going to help alleviate some of that traffic and allow people to travel and get to the things that they need to, whether it's entertainment, doctor's appointments, or just visiting a relative. I think that is necessary. And I think working together is a great way to get it finally approved and passed.
All right. Great answers there. So now, first of all, thank you both. You did a great job with answering the questions thoroughly. Now we just want to go to some questions that we had earlier in the chat in the program. So if we can pull those up really quickly. What initiatives would you support or expand to engage young residents in city life, whether through recreation, internships, or advisory boards? That question will go to you, Mr. Harris.
Like I mentioned earlier, I believe that having a scholarship program to help support athletics is a great initiative and a great way to keep our kids engaged. I'll reference football because I've coached for so long. The registration fee is hundreds of dollars, somewhere between $250 to $300. Some family have multiple kids, and you can only imagine that cost. But that's just the initial cost. You still have equipment, helmets, pads, cleats, shoes. And so it becomes difficult for families to afford keeping their kids engaged. So I would propose, although I know it's not the typical responsibility of a council or even the city, that we have a scholarship program to help supplement some of this cost and even use grants, because it does one thing. It keeps our kids engaged in constructive activities. It keeps them away from being on video games being on the street, engaged in activities not ideal for them or the community. And I think thereby ensuring that our kids have an opportunity to learn, engage in healthy activities, and grow to be productive citizens of Lawrenceville.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Harris. Councilwoman Taylor Crawford, can you answer the same question?
Yes,
what initiatives would you support or
absolutely. I
expand?
work with young people every single day, and of course with parents as well. So I'm going to talk about high school students. So I worked at Discovery High School, and one of the challenges that many students, some students have, what are they going to do after they graduate? Like, what's your plan? And not everyone wants to go to college. Not everyone wants to go to the military, but students can be in a part of an apprenticeship program. So they can actually learn a skill that can pay a really good salary to help them and help their families, especially when we talk about students who come from multilingual, multicultural families. And many of them have to help their families. That's what I saw when I worked at Discovery High School. So I'm also very focused on intergenerational program, because there's so many of our seniors who need so much help right here in the city of Lawrenceville. So if we can have a program that helps the high school students learn an apprenticeship skill, and get paid, and at the same time go out to homes in order to help senior citizens who don't have the finances or any other way to fix up their home, that's a win-win opportunity as far as I'm concerned. Also, we have a roundup program in the city of Lawrenceville. If you take a look at your bill is being rounded up. Some of that money, and I have proposed this before, can be used to go into the schools to help underserved, underprivileged communities, or what we call Title I schools. I proposed that, and that was something that I did not get support from the council. So I'm going to say this: you can have a lot of great ideas, but there are 5 members of the council, of the city council, and if 3 vote in one direction, then it's going to go in that direction.
Thank you so much. I'm so sorry. The time is gone over, but thank you so much for that. Okay, I think we have one more question. What steps would both of you take through council policy to ensure older neighborhoods and newly annexed areas receive equitable attention for infrastructure and beautification projects? I'll go to you, Councilwoman Crawford.
Okay, so great question. So this will take a partnership. I believe in partnerships. City cannot do it all by themselves. We cannot, everyone in the city, we have to partner. So I'll give you an example. We partnered with Habitat for Humanity, builds homes off Spring Lake. I was a part of that. I was out painting and doing everything that I can to help to build that home. So in order to really address the beautification, infrastructure, we have community partners that we can work with, nonprofits who are more than willing to come out and beautify neighborhoods, communities. This is what they do. Even there are some ministries and churches that want to do this work. So I think the people are there. They just have to be provided the opportunity on the high school level. There's so many clubs. They just want things like this to do. As far as the structure, that's going to take money, putting money in those areas that need to make sure that we have to ensure that we maintain certain areas. I think that's really important. But to answer this question in a nutshell, we have to expand our partnerships with nonprofit organizations who would love to do this and give our students and adults and help our seniors or other people in need. It's a win-win if we work together hand in hand.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman. And now you, Mr. Harris. You're on mute, I think.
I apologize.
No worries.
I think seeking state and federal grants, building partnerships, public, private, And as a council member, we can help streamline this process, because I think that's how we can help move this forward to ensure that those areas are receiving the services that they need, and not relying solely on the taxpayer dollars to be able to make these initiatives happen. But definitely it's going to take partnerships to ensure that this takes place.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Mr. Harris. And now for the closing, I want both of you to have 2.5 minutes to discuss whatever your closing remarks are as candidates. We'll start with you, Mr. Harris.
My closing remarks is simple. I'm not a politician. I'm not someone who's seeking this opportunity for myself. I'm truly here because of my passion, love, and concern for the city of Lawrenceville. I've been in this community for years, and I just think it's not necessarily that we have to disagree to go in a different direction, but I think we can do this and have a healthy disagreement, because it's not about the person. It's about moving the city forward and progressing for all residents within the city of Lawrenceville. And that's truly what I'm here for. And that's truly what this campaign is about, to ensure that we have safe neighborhoods, to ensure that our youth are being taken care of, and affordable housing. And you see, as we went through the night, that some of the things that we talk about, we're not too far apart. But I just think that I'm positioned to be able to make these opportunities just to move the city of Lawrenceville forward. It's really what I'm here for. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Harris. And now Councilwoman Crawford.
Yes, I have been doing this work for the past 4 years, and I'm very thankful. Anyone who knows me knows where my commitment is, and it's always to the people. I'm a courageous leader, and sometimes people don't like that. They don't like that at all. I stand for affordable housing. Members of the council do not like that. So when Mr. Bryant is talking about these things, Mr. Brian Harris, this is the fight that I've been in since I've been on the city council, fighting so that we won't have the disparities. And that was one of the main reasons that I ran. I'm not going to apologize for standing up and speaking out about things that are wrong. I'm here to serve. I work for the people of the city of Lawrenceville. I do not work for anyone else, any other council member. I do not rubber stamp votes, because that's not voting with integrity. I'm going to continue to fight. And people who know me or heard of me, they know that I will fight to the very end because of love and care that I have in my heart. I've been recognized for many awards on the state level and on the local level because of the work that I have done and the work that I'm doing. I'm not going to apologize. I'm not going to back down, because I stand with faith and I'm committed. And all the hundreds of children who know me as their school counselor over the years, they can tell you who Mrs. Taylor Crawford is. I see students who are out of college now or out of apprenticeship program who come back and talk to me. So I have a proven track record of caring, and I'm not going and not backing down. And I'm here to do the work that needs to be done. And I just love the work that I do. And I want to continue doing it because this is hard work for me. And I will continue to speak up and do the best that I can in my heart.
Sorry about that. I was muted myself.
I can't hear you.
Sorry about that. I wanted to thank both of you. These are our candidates for the council seat, and I hope that you all have a wonderful evening. Thank you for joining us. Now we'll hear from President Paul.
Thank you.
All right, I want to definitely thank all the candidates from Post 4, City Council. Good luck to Councilwoman Crawford in her run for reelection, as well as candidate Brian Harris in his run to be elected as the new council member for Post 4. Good luck to the both of you. Want to also thank Post 3 candidates that are running, current Councilman Austin Thompson, as well as candidate Randy Travis. Best of luck to both of you in your race in Post 3. Want to encourage anybody that did not get a chance to watch the full program to go back and watch. There will be an archive on our YouTube page, on our Gwinnett NAACP Facebook page, with all of these forums that we're running. Like I said, whether you live in Lawrenceville or don't live in Lawrenceville, definitely encourage those that do live inside the city limits to watch. And again, as I always say, support these candidates. It's the reason why we try to collect, their website information, not only so you can educate yourself about the candidates that are running, but also you can donate to them and support what they're doing. I want to thank everyone that attended. I also want to thank our host for the second leg of this program, from the Top Ladies of Distinction, one of our partner, Miss Erica Franklin. I'm gonna bring her back on stage just to make any final comments before we wrap up.
First of all, I just want to thank all of the candidates. We are very, very pleased to hear from you, and we definitely want to get the vote out. We want to make sure all of our citizens get out and vote. It is very important. And thank you so much, President Paul.
Thank you for that. And just as a friendly reminder, our next program that's coming up, which is streaming across the bottom of the screen, is our upcoming town hall. This is an opportunity for Gwinnett County residents to come out, voice your concerns. We're going to have a lot of different organizations there. Top Ladies of Distinction, the organization that Erica's part of, will be there. One of our partners, League of Women Voters in Gwinnett County, will be there. NCNW, United Ebony Society, Galeo, AAAF. All of these different organizations have come together to join forces to bring to you this town hall this upcoming Tuesday, October the 14th at 6 p.m. We will have some light food, so there will be some snacks, some water. I try to get a couple drinks, like regular beverage drinks, not those type of drinks, to be there for you all to drink. It ain't that type of program. It's not our banquet, but definitely make sure you come out, hear from the candidates, hear from the different panelists, as we're going to try to talk about why it's so important for you to vote, why you can't check out of any election, whether it's a local election, a federal election, or a state election. You need to be participating. So at this time, definitely want to thank you all for joining us. Just one more friendly reminder: our general meeting has been moved to Thursday, October the 16th at 7 o'clock at the Gwinnett Justice and Administration Building. So we will be there. Come out here, get an update on our branch and different activities we got going on. Here's some comments from the banquet, as well as the state convention, which took place out there in College Park by the airport. So definitely come out for that. And then we still got some upcoming candidate forums. So we got 2 left that we're going to do on October the 21st. We'll have the City of Decula City Council candidates. And then we'll have on Sunday, October the 26th, the Grayson City Council candidates. And we'll be right back here with those candidate forums. So if you live in those areas, you definitely need to be tuned in. Some of you may have a Snellville address, but you're annexed to you may have a Grayson address, but you're annexed to Snellville. So go back and watch the Snellville candidate forum. For those of you who, when you go to that www.mvp.sos.ga.gov, it shows that you're eligible to vote in the Snellville City Council election, even though your address says Grayson, Georgia. So just keep that in mind. Some of you who do live in Grayson, will be knocking on your doors, but we'll be telling you to go vote in the Snellville City Council election, because you're governed by the City Council in Snellville, because those 2 cities touch. The way the maps are drawn, you're annexed to the city of Snellville, even though you have a Grayson, Georgia address. So I want to keep that in mind as well. So again, thank you all for joining us. You all have a great night, and look forward to seeing y'all at our upcoming town hall at the Norcross Cultural Arts Center on October the 14th, Tuesday at 6 p.m. Y'all have a great night.
Thank you. Good evening.
All right. Thank you.